I just figured it out.
I didn't get it at all.
I think my email's messed up. But didn't you also send it earlier?
I
got one from you last week too.
So I sent you, not Qualtrics, I sent you login for Way to Health, right?
Oh,
so there's 3 logins. There's
Okay, yeah.
Way to Health login, JIRA and Confluence. JIRA is our ticketing system, so if you have a question, that's where you would put it. Confluence is documentation, which Devin will go over. It's like our user guide. And then the third login that you need is Qualtrics. Some of you may have already had an account. I sent a brand new one out today, so you still didn't get it, Christina? Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I keep forgetting.
Do you want me to get started?
Yeah, you can get started. I'll look into yours.
Okay, great. So right now I am logged into the core site of Way to Health. So as you can see, I have a ton of studies on here, but when you guys log in, you're only going to see the ones that are applicable for you. So you'll want to scroll down and find your Way to Test study, and that's if you're going to work and practice along with me, that's where you'll want to do that today. I'm going to go into the demo training study, which you guys probably can't see. Okay. So when you first come here, this is what you're going to see. It's pretty basic, not too much info. So today what we're going to do is we're going to practice building a survey in Qualtrics. This might be redundant for some of you guys if you are pretty familiar with building Qualtrics surveys, but I try to do every different kind of question type so that when you are doing this for like your screening surveys, your informed consent, you know what to do. And then how to build the enrollment process, and then I'll just give you a quick snapshot of what JIRA and Confluence are and where to go to access different things. So generally, when you're starting to build your Way to Health study, the first thing that you want to do is create your surveys in Qualtrics, because this doesn't require a Way to Health to build your survey. So it's generally a first step, and then you need the surveys in order to build enrollment. So you'll want to go into Qualtrics in your account, and when you log in, you're going to see that the Way to Health template is shared with you. And it's the Way to Health template 2016. There's an older version too that's from 2010. You don't want to use that one. I think I might have deactivated that. Okay,
so
you
good.
Can't pick it.
Okay, great.
Did you just get it, Christina? I just sent it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed you somehow.
It's okay.
Like,
Thank you.
you don't have a Qualtrics account either. Does anybody not have a Qualtrics account besides? I see what I did. Sorry.
Let's see. Sorry, guys. Why am I not finding this?
I got it, thank you.
Did the Google Hangouts went off?
I hate technology.
Yeah, so the AV in this room is broken, so in order for Devin to project, we had to do it via Google Hangouts.
It's saying I'm screen sharing.
Yeah, it's not connected. Should I refresh?
I guess, yeah, well, I'm, okay.
Should we
Still not working?
Yeah. Just see your beautiful mug up there. I could restart it if you think that would work.
Yeah. You're just missing technology issues, so.
I knew it.
I cannot find the Way to Health
It's
template.
happened. My
What did
backpack
you
is
do?
attached to you.
That's
Thanks.
impressive.
I don't know. Weird things.
There's a start screen sharing. It looks like it's.
How are you?
Great, how are you?
Good.
I have too many servers.
I actually ate part of it already. It's just the part 2.
Yeah, but it's still not sharing.
Been eating like 2 breakfasts and like 1 half lunches lately.
I usually, I eat breakfast at home. I eat breakfast or something at work, and then I eat lunch, and then I'm not feeling snack. And then I get home and have a snack, and then dinner.
I think I'm growing again or something. I don't know why.
You're growing?
I don't know.
You're only 7 feet tall.
So we don't know which one is
With this?
this. Yeah.
No, it's saying that I'm sharing.
Would any of you guys know about Google Hangouts and why it wouldn't be working? Maybe I have to get Michael.
Is the internet working? Like other than Google Hangouts?
Yeah.
I just like have this on my phone.
This is gonna be a problem. Do you want me to stop and try again?
Yeah.
Screen sharing failed to start.
Maybe like while you're using QuickTime, it doesn't like that.
Thing in your email.
I know.
It's not letting me. Like trying.
So maybe like stop QuickTime.
And they're like,
Maybe we just don't record it.
it's not that high in protein.
Let me just try refreshing.
There's 2 grams of sugar. But it's only 140 calories for 2 bars.
Oh my god, this is amazing.
Oh, I think it worked.
Come on, guys.
Yay. Okay.
Okay, sorry guys. Alright, so hopefully that gave everyone some time to log into Qualtrics. And when you log in, you should see something called the Way to Health Template 2016. It should say copy only in all caps. So every single survey, this is really important, every single survey that is going to go into Way to Health must be based off of this Way to Health template. Otherwise, it will not be formatted properly because there's unique coding inside this template. So what you need to do is you need to copy the template. So you'll navigate over to this drop down, and it's going to say Copy Project. And then I'm just going to name this Innovation.
And they can do this.
Manager.
They're going to all create their own test, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then actually, when you click Copy Projects, Qualtrics is going to give you an error message saying that it couldn't, for some reason it didn't work. You'll probably see that in a second. Just refresh Qualtrics and it will show up.
Is there a folder to choose or just?
You can create folders if you want. It's probably something I should do since I have 100 surveys, but
So we
Question.
just make a blank copy. Like,
Yep.
But does it have to go in a specific folder? Or
Nope.
just-
You
you
can
don't have
put
to
it.
do anything.
Well, I would just maybe give it a new name. Right. Yeah, for yourself. So now so you call it
So
test.
you can call it Test Screening Survey because that's what we're going to build now.
Okay. Yeah, and just to give, I think that most of you guys know that basically Way to Health enrollment only tracks really basic. It's like the identifier information. So like any other information that you would want to capture on your participants, you would make a survey for in Qualtrics.
Yeah.
Right. So
Great. So once you copy the project, you're going to want to click into it. And as you can see, we just copied the template. There's no questions or anything in there. So we can now start building our survey. So I'm going to do this based off of the survey that I handed out to you guys, and we'll go through the questions. So the first one is I'm going to click Create a New Question. And Qualtrics always defaults to multiple choice, I guess because that's the most common type of question. So
Create a new question.
I haven't.
I just
You-
default block.
Yep, so you'll click the little arrow here. Sorry about that.
Sure. Add.
and Qualtrics has like a really great searchable knowledge base too.
Yeah.
So Devin will give you some of the basics, but
Yeah.
it's really easy to figure out how to do stuff in there.
So it will default to multiple choice, and our first question happens to be multiple choice, so that's great. So I'm just going to put our first question in here.
Just click on this.
I can walk around.
Yeah.
If anybody needs me.
And then since it's a yes/no question, if I put in yes for the first answer, Qualtrics is actually smart and it will like autofill. So I'll click enter. Oh, no, didn't work. Usually it would autofill and say no is like the next choice. Yeah, it's weird.
I did it on mine if I did tab. Yeah.
Ah,
Oh,
okay.
that was
Thank you. And I'm going to change it to 2 choices over here on the right-hand side because we only want yes or no. So then for each, is everyone okay so far?
My login doesn't work, but I'm just scrolling.
Oh.
Oh.
Try taking a few pages and then a few pages so that you can up here.
Okay, so for each question, you'll see on the left, it's going to have a number next to it. So this one says Q107. You're going to want to renumber each question. So because this is going to be what we consider our practice study screening survey, I'm just going to do S_1 and then so forth, S_2, _3, etc. And the reason why you want to renumber these is so that when your data team goes to analyze the data, they know exactly which question matches up. If each survey uses the default of Q, it can be really confusing for them. So this just makes it easier for data analysis.
Does that make sense? So like when the data comes out of Way to Health, there's a column. That's what's going to be on top of the column.
Okay. So we have this first question. Now, on top of that data analysis portion, you're going to want to recode the values of yes and no. So you're going to go over to this little gear icon on the left. And you'll see an option that says recode values. You'll click that. And then check the box that says recode values, and you'll see it assigns a 1 to yes and a 2 to no. And again, this is for data analysis. They'll know if the participant selected yes, then it gives it a value of 1, and no, it gives it a value of 2. And you'll want to do that for each question. So some of them, like a text entry where they just are typing in free text, obviously you can't recode free text. But for questions that it's like a default choice, then you'll want to recode. And then also on every question, you'll want to decide if you want to have validation, meaning if you want to request a response from a participant or force a response from a participant. So generally for screening surveys, because this is determining eligibility, you'll want to force a response. So you'll go over here to validation options, and I'm going to click this force response question. And what that means is that if the participant tries to go to the next page without answering this question, it's going to say you need to go back and answer this question. If it was a request response, if I chose this here, then it would just prompt them and say, you left a question blank. Do you want to go back or do you want to proceed? So again, because this is screening, I'm going to do force response. Now, as I have built on our practice survey here, I have if the participant selects yes, we want to skip them to the end of the survey because we're saying, oh, well, they definitely can't participate. So I'm going to add some skip logic that would take them all the way to the end of the survey. And you can see over here on the right, the actions section adds skip logic. So if and then you select the answer, yes, is selected, then skip to end of survey. And that's how you do skip logic. And you can skip over, you can skip to the end of the survey, you could skip certain questions, and you'll see that more as we go along. Great, so let's go ahead and do our next question. Again, it's a multiple choice. Are you 18 years of age or older? Yes, no, Again, I'm going to renumber, so I'm going to call this S2. I am going to recode the values.
And this is all, there's documentation on
Yes,
this as well,
there is.
so like you don't have to take rigorous notes, but it's helpful to do it once
Yeah,
yourself, I
it's
think.
helpful to do it. And then I'm going to make it a forced response. And then the third question is pretty similar. What, in terms of setting it up, what is your gender?
It was smart.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah,
smart.
It's, the tab,
It's great.
yes.
It is tab, yeah. Gonna renumber it, recode it, and then force response.
What does the checkbox above
Sure.
the S do?
Checkbox above the S. That just means the question that you're on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if you want to easily add a question, if you realize, oh, I want a question before the gender question, you could either go here and add a question above like that. You can delete with this minus sign. And then you can also move with the arrows over here. So you can move up and down. And any question that you delete will go down to the bottom and it will be in your trash here, so you can recover questions. Okay, so our next one is going to be, who is your employer? I had fun designing this intervention.
Yeah, I know. I was like, this is so creative, Devin. I'm proud of you. What about question 4? What is your
Oh,
weight in
yep,
pounds?
thank you. Sorry about that. Good catch, Christiane. So number 4 is, what is your weight in pounds? Okay, so obviously we don't want this to be multiple choice because there could be 300 different options. So your best bet for like a weight is a text entry. So we're going to need to change our question type over on the right. So Way to Health only supports static content and standard questions. Anything that's under the specialty questions or the advanced is not supported in Way to Health, so it won't work.
And that may have been a question you had, Elisa. I'm not sure how your stuff is built currently. If you have any, we can talk offline, I guess.
Wait, which two? Static and standard?
Yep. So that actually covers a lot of different formats, and we'll go over some of the different ones in this practice survey. We can usually figure out a way to format a question to make it work with one of these. So for this one, we're going to want to choose text entry, and if you go over, you can just select text entry, but you can also, if you go over to this little arrow, it gives you multiple options for text entry, and you'll pick which one is applicable for your question. So this one's just going to be a single line. And this will allow them to enter their weight here.
How is that different than descriptive text?
So descriptive text is just us saying like instructions basically. So if I were to select that, it would just be like,
Oh, okay.
it basically like, welcome to the survey. But there wouldn't actually
Like the
be,
consent button?
yes, correct. Yep. You're basically just like copy pasting in text. So for this, it actually lets them answer a question. Yeah. So I'm going to renumber this. Now, as I said before, you can't recode a text entry because it's not like a multiple choice, and Qualtrics knows it won't even give you that as an option.
I lost you. I didn't see you on here.
It's refreshing. Frustrating. Okay, I think it's going. Okay, great. All All right. But we do want to add that validation, that forced response, because we do want them to answer this weight question. Okay, now we're ready for our employer question. So the first choice is Pizza Hut, McDonald's, Panera, and then other. So if you want fill in the blank as one of your multiple choice, you can do other. And then you'll go to this drop down here, allow text entry. And this will allow them to type in, let's say, Burger King. And then again, I'm going to renumber, add forced response, and recode.
Do you generally do it one by one like that, or do you do like coding all first?
I usually do it all at the end. I'll recode them all at the same time at the end.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's usually faster if you just batch do it. Okay, so now the next question is, do you deliver pizzas? But we only want to show this question if they work at Pizza Hut, because obviously Panera employees aren't delivering pizzas. So first we're going to add our question. I'm going to do all the stuff I did before, renumbering, recoding, and making it a forced response. And then once I do that, I'm going to add my display logic. So you'll see on the actions over here, it's very similar to skip logic. So we're going to do add display logic. And Qualtrics is going to prompt you for which question. So you have to choose which question is going to make this question display. So who is your employer? And if they select Pizza Hut is selected, then display this question.
What if it was like Pizza Hut and Domino's? You can do two.
You can do both of them, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And then our next question is going to be similar.
I don't mean to
Yep, no.
interject, but I'm wondering, so if it was a value, could you pick something like above 160 if they typed in a value?
Let's look. So if we did, what is your weight in pounds? Yeah, is, greater than whatever. Good question,
Qualtrics is
Christina.
real smart.
It is, I love it. Oops. Great. Okay. So then the next one is please indicate which of the following states your main location is. That grammar is not correct, but okay.
It's okay, you did this on the fly.
Yeah, I did. True. So we're going to want to change this to choice. So because there's so many options, like this would just be really long. There's like 10 options. We're gonna go over to the question type, and then it's already on multiple choice, but you'll want to go to the little arrow, and you'll see you'll have a ton of options here. For this one, we're gonna want to select drop-down list, and then we can go to click here to edit choices. So I'm just gonna do these. So I'm lazy. again, renumber, recode, and then force response. And like the last one, we only want to display this question if they select Panera as their employer. So again, I'm going to do add display logic. Who is your employer? They select Panera. Any questions so far? Cool.
I like get out of edit mode for edit the choices.
So
Or is it like that's how it looks?
yeah,
Just create this question.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So we're now on to page 2, number 8. So this one we just want to ask them where and how do they shop for clothes. So this question's a little bit more complicated than the other ones. So this question type, we're not going to use a multiple choice, but rather we're going to use a side-by-side. So again, you'll change the question type to side-by-side. So where and how do you shop clothes? Okay, so first thing after we put in our question, we need to label the columns. So how often do you shop at these stores? And our choices are often, sometimes, and never, so we need to add another column here. Or another statement, excuse me. Oops, nope, maybe it is column. Oh, no. Column options. So you go to column options and add a column answer. And that will allow you to do often, sometimes, and never. And then we'll do the same thing over here. Do you shop in-store or online? And they can choose in-store or online.
So are all of these already recoded or does it have to happen after you put in like more columns and stuff?
What do you mean
To have
recoded in the
1, 2,
beginning?
3. Are those already like?
Oh, I'm
1,
sorry.
2,
That's from me exporting, so that's actually not in
Okay.
actually in the survey. So our options are Macy's, Nordstrom, sorry, and Target. Let me fix that. I don't understand this.
Sorry, it's not working.
No,
Has it been like this for a while?
I have no idea.
Oh,
Do you want to do join me? Maybe that would be better.
Yeah.
Why don't I switch it up?
Okay.
All right, just give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault. We just realized.
So you manually put in S81.
Yep.
Actually, if you name the variable before you do those options, mine automatically.
Oh, okay. I did mine after, which explains it.
you to Slack it to me? Okay, great. Thanks, Christiane. Okay, let's keep going because the next couple are kind of easy, and so hopefully we kind of have a hang of it at this point. And please feel free to ask. So we should be on question 9. About Wi-Fi, and it's just a general yes, no, multiple choice. You can also change if you want your multiple choice to be horizontal instead of vertical. You'll see on the right side under the position, you can change the way it's formatted to be horizontal. And you can also allow participants to select multiple answers. So instead of just one single answer, they can select multiple bubbles by selecting multiple answer.
I just realized that we can't do it this way.
No.
Because I can't pass the presenter role to you. So you would have to do it. And you probably don't have it downloaded. Unless you want to use the wrong PC.
Do we know when the AV is going to be fixed?
I put in a call on Friday.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. And nobody else will get it fixed if it's not us.
Thank you for doing that.
So yeah, you just need to create a join me account and then I'll join yours.
I mean, I'm starting over with the Google Hangouts.
You're gonna just try and go without it. Okay.
All right. Sorry, guys. So I'm on to question 10. Do you own a smartphone? Again, this is an easy one. Yes, no. Okay. So then the next one is going to be a display logic one. So which device do you own? If other, please specify. Okay. Android. Other, and then remember for other you can allow text entry. So let's say they have a Windows phone. And then I also want to have a choice, just in case they accidentally answer that. So we only want to display this question if they say yes to owning a smartphone. So on the right, we're going to add display logic. If do you own a smartphone is yes, then display this question. Great. Okay, so then next, we're going to go on to number 12. Do you own a Galaxy? And the reason that we ask this question is because a lot of our devices, the apps don't work on the Galaxy.
Oh.
Yeah, just FYI.
You mean like the Way to Health mobile? Like the purchase
No,
site?
the Moves app
Oh,
is
the app's
terrible.
okay.
So it's just usually a red flag that they probably need another device. So it's going to be S12 recode, and again, we only want to display this if they say that they have an Android, because the Galaxy is an Android. So which type of phone? And if they select Android, then we display this question. And then validate. Okay. Now we're going to ask them a couple health questions. So are you a current smoker? Yes. No. And then after we do the smoking one, we're going to do a new type. We're going to do ask them about their pain, and we want this to be a slider. So we're going to go over here and change the question type, and it's going to look like a scale for the participant. So we're going to select slider. And then we only want one choice because we're just asking them about their pain. So we're going to change this to one choice. And then we want the pain scale to be from 0 to 10, so we need to update this scale here. So the min value is going to stay at 0, and then instead of the max value being 100, we're going to make that 10. Okay, so then I'm going to add my question. What is your pain level today? And we usually try to say like what 0 equals, what 10 equals. So 0 equals no pain. 10 equals worst possible pain. And then I'm just going to write here pain level. Oops. So as you can see here, you can't recode this. But we do want to renumber. And the reason that you can't recode this is because the values are already, if they say a 0, then it equals a 0. Okay, just have a few more and then we're all set. So again, we're going to do a new type of question type. So this one, we're going to ask them yes, no in a table about the following health conditions. So have you been told by your physician you have any of the following? And we're going to change the question type to a matrix table. So we want to have 3 statements and 2 scale points, I believe. Yes, 3 statements and 2 scale points. So scale point 1 is going to be yes. Oops, did not want that to be caps. No. And then our options are high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes. Renumber, recode, and then force response. And then the last question is going to be display logic. That only displays if they say they have type 2 diabetes. And the reason that we're asking this question for our weight loss study is because metformin makes your weight fluctuate a lot because it makes you hold water. So. And then we're going to add the display logic. Great. So we should be all set now with our survey. So you'll want to double check, before you activate this, that you obviously all your questions are there, that you've recoded all the values, you've put in validation if you needed, either forced or request response, and that you've renumbered each question. So you can also preview your survey, like if you're not sure if you did display logic right or skip logic, you can click preview survey. And it will show you what it'll look like on a mobile device, and it will also show you what it looks like here. Okay, so now that our survey's done, we're going to want to activate it. So I'm going to go back to, and you can only do that from the home page basically. So I'm going to go back to my projects. And then you're going to go over to the right to this drop-down arrow, and you'll see this option to activate the survey. If you don't activate it and you go into Way to Health, it's not going to appear there. So you'll know pretty quickly if you forgot to activate it. You'll just have to go back to Qualtrics. So I'm going to select Activate, and you'll see the status updates to active. And that's all you need to do in Qualtrics to build your surveys. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
From there, if we have something similar, is it easier just to copy the one that we've already created
Yep.
and modify?
So one of the options when you're in your survey, instead of the create new question, you have the option to import questions from. So if you have another survey that's super similar, you can copy the questions over from that survey into here. But just don't forget to copy the Way to Health template and pull the survey questions from your other survey in.
Okay, so you shouldn't copy the other survey. You should
Copy the Way to Health template and pull the questions in.
Oh, but you couldn't just copy your own survey? Because wouldn't that be off of the Way to Health template? No. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Today I learned.
Okay. Okay, so now we're all set to pull our screening survey into Way to Health. So I probably logged out. Let's see. Yeah.
So you guys should have all received the web address for Way to Health. Does anybody need that? Should be my.waytohealth.upenn.edu/way to health dash backend. There it is. She's got it up there, and then you don't have to worry about the
Other
remainder of it. I believe I sent that to you guys. Yes. Okay. And then
So
those
many
of you who
accounts.
already have accounts, you probably have it saved. Yeah. But you're going to log into the same address. I created a test account for the people who have active projects or studies. So everybody should have a test account, and you may also have a live account as well. Site based.
Yeah. So today, if you're working along with me, you'll want to go into your Way to Test account. So now we're going to want to go to this survey section. We're under Managed Study. And we're going to be working in Managed Study for building. So you'll see here on the left, you'll have these options for settings, surveys, which is where we're going to go next. Then we can set up devices, build enrollment, and then study arms. You can pretty much ignore alerts and incident tags for the purposes for what you guys are doing. And this is kind of in order of how we're going to set things up. So first we're going to go to surveys. And if you're in your test account, Way to Health is going to prompt you to configure your Qualtrics credentials.
To the test account.
So when you log in on your dashboard, do you see something that says Way to Test dash your last name?
Is this separate from like the credentials email that we received? So it's not
No,
the same.
it should be
link,
the same.
different link?
It's my
Like, do we log in with our existing one, like that I would use for studies?
Yep.
now?
Yep.
Oh.
so log in with your existing account.
I thought it was
Because I keep getting like this wrong site message when I click on the link. I'm clicking on this.
Yeah, that you're logged into the study.
Yeah.
No, because I deleted your study participant account.
Like I accessed this like 2 days ago when you sent it, but now when I'm trying to go on it, it's saying
my.waytohealth.upenn.edu/waytohealth/backend
Dash backend.
-backend.
yeah, I haven't had that.
All right, Christine, can I keep going?
Yeah.
Um,
What are you trying?
So you'll go to the surveys tab, and it's going to say configure a Qualtrics account. And it should ask you for your Qualtrics token. So you're actually going to have to go back to Qualtrics and get this token. So I will show you how to do that. In a new tab, you'll go to your Qualtrics account and it will be account settings under this little profile guy here. And then Qualtrics ID, where this gear icon is. And you either will have to click Generate Token under API, or one will already be created for you, and you'll just copy and paste this. Into where it says Qualtrics Token. And then you'll click Update once you add your Qualtrics username. And then what should happen, bless you, once you add your Qualtrics credentials, if you click Add New Survey, if you go to Survey ID, all of your surveys that you have should be here. This is a lot of surveys. So I'm going to find our Innovation Manager. So this is the one I just created, this Innovation Manager Training Survey, and I'm actually going to name it Screening Survey. The name that you give it here, no one will actually see, so it's just like whatever name is best for you guys. Because if you have, if you have a Screening Survey version 1 or 2, or you want to add the date, if that helps you, you can do that. And again, if it doesn't show up in this list, that means you didn't activate it in Qualtrics. So I've done that many times.
Did you create a test participant answer? Okay, I don't know what happened, but it has been test participant still.
Okay, so now we have our screening survey. And again, in the things that you'll build in Qualtrics are your screening survey. If you have a demographic baseline survey that's separate from screening, your informed consent will be also in Qualtrics, where you're literally just copy paste from Word. And so I'm actually going to, I have a test, informed consent.
Could you send out like the list of use cases for the Qualtrics?
Yeah.
Would you ever use this like in the middle of an intervention?
Yep. So you could have a midpoint survey, an end of program survey if you're trying to like ask them about what they thought about the program. Yeah.
The results from these surveys like feed into like normal dashboard
So
activity.
click on
Like
weighted test.
if we were to like have this
Sorry
survey,
about that.
and then I would be able to feed it into like the other logic and the rating confidence showing like if someone's
or is
this
it?
is separate.
They could, but you'd probably send it as a text survey that they could respond to, right? And then it would show up, because like we're doing pain score.
Right.
And the texting.
Yeah.
It's not
So it wouldn't make
matrix.
sense.
You wanna have the boyfriend with no hair contest, but like we can talk about
Yeah, let's talk offline.
If we were doing different scores, and
Yeah.
it's just a question that was texted to them, if we had like a lot of questions we wanted them to do every day, it might be harder to do that through texting.
Yeah. Okay, so I have my screening survey that we all built together, and then I just threw in a random informed consent for the purposes of this. So now we're ready to start building our enrollment process. So we're going to navigate over here to the enrollment. And once you're here, you will see the default steps. These are not things that you can remove. You'll see that they're locked. So the first thing that we're going to want to do, let's go to our other paper. So I kind of designed my own mini intervention. So we're going to build the enrollment process for that intervention. So I want to design an intervention to help overweight male and female fast food employees lose weight. And we believe that there's different strategies to promote weight loss depending on gender. So we're going to test this with a Whiting scale and bidirectional text messaging. So because that's our intervention, I designed certain enrollment steps based off of that. So you'll see in the first section I said, during enrollment, you'll want to make sure that you, 1, collect participant contact information, 2, administer informed consent. So they say, I either want to or don't want to participate. Then we're going to want to screen them for eligibility. And then because we're using a scale, participants have to authorize Way to Health to collect the information from their scale, their weights. And then finally, we're going to assign participants to either the male arm or the female arm, depending on the gender that they said that they are. And I've done this for a couple of your projects, Home Connect has like the misfit arm and the non-misfit arm. So depending on that survey you guys fill out. So I also developed my protocol. So usually you'll want to map this out before you actually start building. So for me, I was thinking, okay, what information do I want in the profile? I want name, email address, date of birth. I want cell phone number because I'm doing bidirectional text messaging, and home address. Again, that's up to you guys. So I'm going to add a profile step. And I'm just going to name it profile. Participants are enrolling themselves, which we'll go over in a later session. This is the name that they will see when they enroll. So I'll click add, and then it's going to show up here. And then that's how I'll collect that profile information. Okay. So then the next step is going to be informed consent. And since the informed consent is actually a survey, I'm going to add it as a survey. And you guys don't have an informed consent because we didn't build one, but just follow along here. So I'm going to name it informed consent, and I'm going to choose my informed consent survey. And then you can also choose prerequisites. So if I decide that I don't want a participant to complete the informed consent until I've collected all their profile information, I can select that here. So it basically doesn't let them move forward. And again, this is relevant if people are enrolling themselves. And you can see here that I can actually move these around. So what happens if a participant says that they don't want to participate? Obviously, we want to stop them from moving forward and collecting their information, so we need to build that feedback into Way to Health. So we're going to go to feedback, and we're going to say if, and then it's going to give us their their answer options. So if they say, I do not want to participate, then we're going to mark them as ineligible. And you'll decide what you want to write here. Usually we suggest putting like your contact information if they have any questions. Or maybe you want to say for this, you just said you did not want to participate or something like that. And we're going to save that. If they say, I want to participate, we don't have to do anything. The Way to Health is just going to let them move forward. Any questions about that?
So could you just explain like what feedback is in Way to Health? That might be helpful.
So feedback basically looks at either the survey or the device. So in this case, the survey, and then the selected answers and decides what to do based on that. So
it might be sending the participant a message in this case, but it could be just marking them as ineligible, not telling them. Not that you would do that, but you could technically.
Not for ineligible.
But for another.
Yeah. And we'll kind of see that in the next step in the screening survey. So if you guys want to do that, we can add our screening survey in. And generally, you don't want to screen them until they agree to participate. So informed consent should be basically one of the first steps. So I'm going to add informed consent as a prerequisite to the screening survey. So then we'll go to feedback. And this is where we're going to decide what the eligibility criteria are. So you'll see here on this practice building enrollment page, I have different options and answers that mark a participant as ineligible. So we're going to go to if completed and then we're going to change this to any, because if they select any of these answers, then it's going to mark them as ineligible. So the first one is, do you foresee any reasons that could prevent you from completing a weight loss study? That's our first question. If they say yes, we'll want to mark them as ineligible. Then another one is, are you over the age of 18? If they say no, we'll want to mark them as ineligible. The next one, who is your employer? And this is just pulling all the survey questions that we built. And if they select other, we'll want to mark them as ineligible. And then let's see. This one might be applicable for you guys. If they say that they don't have access to Wi-Fi on a regular basis. And here we go again. It's like,
give it a second to see if it resets. Is everybody following on their own PCs, at least their own computer?
it's like I have to refresh and rejoin. That's what keeps happening.
Well, hopefully the AP will be fixed by next week. If not, we'll come up with a better. We can do the join me.
Yeah. Okay. Right?
Yeah, but the join me.
Yeah. Okay. I think now I know what I have to do. I can do it faster. It should be good to go. Sync. Just waiting for more. Oh. Okay. Okay. So do they have access to Wi-Fi on a regular basis? If they say no, we want to mark them as ineligible. Same thing with a smartphone. And then if they say they have a Galaxy, and the last one is if they say that they are on another medication besides metformin. So we can select all of these questions, and we want to make sure that we have any, not all, because that would make them have to have every single answer. We want any of these answers. So if they select these answers to any of these questions, then mark as ineligible, and then this will display, if the participant is enrolling themselves, it will immediately display to them this message, and it will also be emailed to them. And
display, like when they're
on the dashboard.
On their dashboard.
Yeah, and it will stop them from moving forward. Like they won't be able to go on to the next step. If the participant so if they're marked as ineligible, you guys will also get alerted saying, like you'll get an email saying that someone was marked as ineligible.
So they'll do that whole survey even if the first question marks them as ineligible?
Yeah, because Way to Health doesn't capture the survey until they're done the survey.
Okay.
And
I just wanted to understand. I don't know if that was a confusing point for anybody else, but
I thought it would kick them right to the end because of the logic in Qualtrics.
It would,
yeah,
because
you
of that
could.
first one. Yeah,
okay.
that was
Okay.
You
So
could.
So
You
it's like
could.
both, but Way to Health doesn't know yet.
So if there's skip logic that pushes them all the way to the end, then yes.
So you'd have to build it in Qualtrics. Okay, that makes sense.
Usually you want, like if you're doing a screening survey, you usually want as much information as possible that people are willing to give you. So, especially when it comes to data analysis and stuff. So, usually you don't want to skip to the end of the survey, but it's up to you guys.
Okay.
And then we'll click Save Feedback.
So there's the consequence where,
Yep.
there's the if otherwise, assigned to an arm. What if you have two different arms and there's like different requirements based on the initial survey questions?
Yeah, so you could do a new, like ignore all of that that's up there.
Okay, and you kind of start
A new box.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So when would you use the otherwise?
I guess if everyone else would be.
Usually don't use that so much for screening.
Okay.
I'll show you. I actually have a separate step for arm assignment. So Christina, that might be what you're kind of thinking of. But you could also do it. I guess you could also do it off of the screening survey. Like if they select, so like if they say my employer is Pizza Hut, then we could assign them to a specific arm.
Okay.
So you could do that. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Or if they answer a certain question a certain way, you could send them a message, or either to yourself or like, are you a pen medicine patient? If they say no, you could like message yourself being like, this person isn't a pen medicine patient or something like that. Okay, so since we are using the Withings device to collect participants' weights, we'll need to add a device authorization step. So basically this will, and some of you are familiar with this with the Misfit, the participant will basically need to put in their Misfit or Withings credentials, basically saying that Way to Health, it's okay for Way to Health to collect their information. But before we can do that, we actually need to add the device. So we're going to go over here on the left to the devices section. And you can ignore these devices. And then click add a new device. And you'll have a lot of options from the drop down, but for this purpose, we're going to choose Withing Scale. I'm just going to call it Withing Scale.
Yeah, and I think the terminology devices, at least for me, was a little bit confusing.
Mhm.
For the case of a Withing Scale, that is a very clear device, but device also means bidirectional text messaging, CSV
Yep.
upload, so if you're getting data from somewhere else and putting it into Way to Health. So, just take a look at the whole list so that because there's some stuff that may not, it's not intuitive that it would be there.
Not like a physical device.
Yeah. In this case.
Yes, it is,
so.
yeah. Well, when we build the arms and we do the bidirectional text messaging, we'll
Okay.
see that. So when I select Withing Scale, Way to Health is going to auto-populate these fields. 95% of the time, these are applicable, so you can usually just leave them alone. But feel free to obviously review them. So I'm going to click Add. And then now I'm going to go back to my enrollment, and I can add that device authorization step. And remember, if they're enrolling on the front end, but enrolling themselves, they will see this name. So if you don't want them to know that there's a device, sometimes it's weird, but let's just call it Withing Setup or something. And then it's going to show us all of our device options, and we just added that scale, so we're going to add that here. And we don't want them to be able to do that until they complete the screening survey. And then, so basically what will happen from their perspective, bless you, is that once they complete this screening survey, then they'll be prompted to authorize Way to Health to collect their Withings data, and they won't be able to move forward until they do that. And then our last step is to assign them to an arm based on a response in the screening survey. So because our intervention is testing different weight loss strategies for gender, I am going to create an arm assignment. And we're pulling that question from our screening survey, but that could be a separate one question survey too.
If we wanted to randomize people, if we didn't want to assign the arms and it
Yep.
wanted to be randomized
Yep.
at the end or random.
Correct. Yep. So for this purpose, we're going to go to feedback. We're going to say if, and then we're going to find our gender question. If they say that they're a male, then assign. And we don't have our arm yet. I guess I should have done that first. Hold on, let me back up. So I'm going to go to study arms, and I'm going to quickly just add our 2 arms. So male arm. And female arm. Sorry about that. Then I go back to, I just quickly added our 2 new arms. I didn't do anything else. I just named them. And then I'm going to go back to enrollment and go to feedback for the arm assignment. And then you'll see, so if they say that their gender is male, then assign them to the male arm. If they say that their gender is female, then assign to the female arm.
Yeah, for For those of you that are kind of just following up here, the drop downs don't seem to be displaying on Google Hangouts. So there are drop downs that, right? Like when you're selecting that question.
Yeah, is it
there's
not displaying?
No.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. I think it's a Google Hangouts thing. So
And
it'll
so-
be more clear when
yeah.
you do it yourself. Is what I'm
Sorry
saying, 'cause I
about
was
that.
watching you do it up here.
Yeah.
Like, how are you picking them?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
So that's our enrollment. So basically, once we did that and the participant was assigned to the arm, then we want them to immediately start in the study. And weirdly, you actually do that at the study arms level. So I'm going to go back. And I believe it's under edit. Yeah. So when you add your arms, you're going to select this auto start if you want them to automatically start once they've finished all of the enrollment steps. And again, I'm going to do that here as well. Otherwise, you guys have to go in and manually start them. So that's all we have for the enrollment and the Qualtrics for today. I just want to briefly show you quickly JIRA and Confluence. I know most of you are pretty familiar with it, but just in case. So Confluence, you actually don't need to be logged in to access the user guide, which is great. So anyone, anyone in the Innovation Center can poke around in here. But basically, if you do log in or you go to the site, you'll see over here, you'll see our user guide. And I tried to kind of order it in terms of what you would need first and then work your way down. So one of the most helpful things, I linked up all of our YouTube videos. So you can quickly go here and see what YouTube videos have created for different things. So today, you might have wanted to watch the one about the Qualtrics surveys or building enrollment. And you can quickly do that here. And then another really helpful thing is when you're starting a new project is this Way to Health process map and handbook of resources. So it kind of goes through the different phases, and you can go to what phase your project is in, and it will kind of help you navigate what the next step is in terms of Way to Health. So it could be submitting stuff to the IRB, and then we tell you here, what's Way to Health stuff you should submit for IRB. And we're really trying to help you, guide through step by step. And then once then building your Way to Health study, and then testing and starting and managing and all of that.
Now, I think for Penn Heart Study, you guys now have access to the Penn Heart Study site. Did you see it on your dashboard? I just added you, Christina. So I know that you guys are trying to launch as soon as possible. So most of the stuff that Devin does in her trainings can be found in Confluence. So if you want to just try and get started, with enrollment and everything, that's your actual study site. You want to test stuff, you can test it on your test sites as well. And then we'll do the enrollment. The study arms is the next training. So, and that's on Wednesday.
And then a few quick other things. While you're, if you're still outlining your protocol, I've sent this to a couple of you guys, but just how to and this is kind of what I did here on this practice, but you can think about what information you're trying to collect. Are you going to have certain surveys? And this should help guide you. And then same thing with your ARM schedules, which is also your intervention. And then these examples are under examples for practice build. So you can go to if you click the Qualtrics one, you can get that here. The building enrollment, this is all here, and then there's nothing under building on yet, but there will be. And then just everything else that you could possibly need is here, and we'll go over some of that stuff later.
Also, the glossary was really helpful for me
Oh,
as a
yeah.
user, because
Where is that?
there's a lot of terminology that
Here we go.
Way to Health uses that is not, in my mind, it wasn't clear to me what it meant, encounters and feedback and all of those things. So, if you see things that don't maybe make sense, you can always check the glossary too, to see if it's just like a way health term. Iris is, she's
Working on.
that better, but
Work in progress.
yeah, I mean, it was just helpful for me anyway.
Oh, and then I guess the only other thing about Confluence is if we have meetings with you guys, we generally try to put them in here so you can actually access like what we've talked about if we've typed up notes. So, look, Home Connect, Ortho, so you can see like meeting minutes. So it's under active projects or perspective, and I think we try to move them to active.
Yeah, we should actually probably not put the perspective out. For
Yeah,
everybody
probably not.
to see, but yeah, we essentially move you over like once you become a Way to Health user.
So that's Confluence, and then just quickly, JIRA is how you put in a ticket. So basically, if you have a question or need support either from me or a developer, you're going to want to put in a JIRA ticket, and someone will look at it as quickly as possible. So when you log into JIRA, it will probably look something like this. You'll come to the system dashboard, and really all you need to do is go to this create button, and it will default to Way to Health platform, and you'll want it to be a help ticket. Most tickets are standard priority. If it's like a seriously big issue that's like literally like you cannot log into Way to Health, participants are getting like crazy numbers of messages randomly, or like some major issue, like then it's a blocker. But generally most things are standard. You'll put a title, a description, as much information as possible, participant IDs, screenshots. Like I appreciate all of that because it helps me to like debug and see like where to look.
And participant ID, not participant name, right?
Yes.
We don't want to have any kind of PHI.
This actually is secure, so like if you take a
okay.
screenshot and it has like a person's name, like it's okay, but we try not to do that.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have to worry about assigning it.
Yeah.
We have a support lead and Devin kind of triaging it, so put it into if you think it's a help ticket, put it in as a help. If you think it's a
And
bug,
we can move it.
put it in but we can just shift it around. So, we're just trying to identify what the issue is, and then we give it to the person that makes the most sense to help with it.
Yeah. And then you can add like your like coworkers on it. So like for Home Connect, Emmy might put like start typing like Maggie's name if she also wants her to see it. And you can add them as a watcher. And what that means is if you're adding someone as a watcher, they'll get an email every time there's a comment, a picture uploaded, a developer comment, a status change on the ticket, and that will help you guys to follow up on the issues. It will default to Way to Health core site, which is what all of your studies are running on, and then your study name should show up here, so like Home Connect, and you can just select it from the drop down. And you can ignore this stuff. And then you'll just click create, and it'll go in our queue, and then typically I'll be the first one to kind of go in and triage it, and then we can go from there. Does anyone have any questions about putting in a ticket or Confluence?
How do you access Confluence? I might have missed that.
That's okay. So actually, when you log into JIRA, they're technically the same login, so you can go over here to the hamburger button on the left-hand side, and you can click Confluence here.
Yeah, so it's the same vendor essentially. They have
Yeah.
two different products. They
That
have
will
a
take
ticketing
you, and you can
system.
flip back and forth.
It's the menu button.
Yeah, it's just the icon, like what they call it.
The hamburger. That's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, it's easy to flip back and forth between the two. And JIRA, you do have to be logged into. Confluence, you don't. Anything else? I know this is like a lot for.
This is really helpful.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Sorry about the technical glitches. I'm going to stop the recording.